So, dear all, welcome to this help desk session. We will organize these sessions from now on every Tuesday until every other Tuesday, so bi-weekly, until the deadline of the open call on the 31st of March 2024. You are welcome to join as often as you want, and feel free to also spread the word and invite others that you know might have questions about Perform Europe. The next sessions will continue from January onwards because of the holiday break that is coming up. I'm Karen Verlinde. I'm the project coordinator of Perform Europe, and I'm joined in this session by my dear colleagues Mariam Leshava, who is tuning in from Tbilisi, who is the communications manager of Perform Europe, and by Christina Emel, who is project assistant of Perform Europe and with me in the room today. During this help desk session, we will present the details of the open call to you, and then we will present some related events and documentation and the unique Perform Europe matchmaking and toolkit, all of which might come in handy if you are thinking of applying. This introduction should take about 10 to 15 minutes, after which we will have a plenary Q&A session. If you have any questions during the presentations that I'm giving now, you can post them already in the chat, and Christina or Mariam might be answering them already throughout. Otherwise, after the presentations, we will also look at these questions, see if there's any unanswered, and then there will also be a moment where you can just ask questions live. I will ask you to raise the Zoom hand, which you can find under the window with your image, and then we will unmute you and give you the floor to ask your question. But at that time, also, if you prefer not to do it on video, you can do it in the chat. Just for your information, we are recording the session. We will only share the presentation part afterwards, so this part, and we will not share the part where you are asking questions. Okay, let's get started. Perform Europe is a program which aims to reimagine international touring of performing arts. It is co-funded by Creative Europe, the program of the European Union, and led by a consortium of 6 different partners. You might know some of them. It is ITM, the International Network for Contemporary Performing Arts, PEARL, EFA, European Festivals Association, it's Circostrada, European Dance Development Network, and IDEA Consult. Perform Europe is a funding scheme for the performing arts sector in all Creative Europe countries, and I will come back to what that means exactly later in the presentation. Now, the open call of Perform Europe has been officially launched on the 1st of December, very recently, and will remain open for 4 months until the 31st of March 2024. In total, there is a budget available of 2.1 million euro that will be granted to at least 35 successful partnership projects. Perform Europe will support innovative ideas to make the touring of performing arts greener, more inclusive, and more diverse. As a program for the broad performing arts community in the Creative Europe countries, Perform Europe wants to make change. We will invite partnerships, and I will give a definition of a partnership later in the presentation. So we will invite partnerships to come up with innovative proposals and courageous ideas to change the way in which we tour and present performing arts across borders today. And this aim will translate into does translate into the 2 priorities that are in focus of our open call. The first one being diversity and inclusion, and the second one being the fight against climate change. Partnerships who apply will choose for one or both of these priorities as a focus of their proposal. If you would like to gain more insight in the vision of Perform Europe and what we exactly mean by these priorities and by these terms, I invite you to read the open call and guidelines document, where we mention what these terms can mean in the context of the performing arts. Now, with the ambition to move towards a fairer sector, we will particularly welcome projects by or involving the areas and communities that are currently underrepresented in the performing arts mobility flows. These include, but are not limited to, members of the LGBTQIA+ community, people who are based in rural areas, who have underrepresented gender, racial, or ethnic backgrounds, people with disabilities, and anyone else identifying as member of an underrepresented group. We know that we operate in a highly diverse and unequal context in 40 different countries. This has, by the way, also been shown by the research that was done in the pilot version of Perform Europe in 2021. This research also showed that there are quite some gaps and disparities between countries and communities which are part of Creative Europe. And Perform Europe is striving for greater equity in the performing arts field, exactly by supporting also presentation of artistic works by and for underrepresented communities and groups. Now, as selection criteria, next to the quality of the proposal in addressing one or both of the mentioned priorities, all Perform Europe proposals have to implement the following cross-cutting priorities. All proposals should aim for quality and innovation, and all partnerships and proposals should be built on fair principles. This is essential to us. Again, if you want to find more information on what we mean exactly when we talk about quality and innovation or fairness, please consult the guidelines where we go into detail further. Now, on eligibility, who can apply? The call is open to performing arts professionals and organizations legally based in one of the 40 Creative Europe countries. And here it is important to notice that we say legally based. So this is important, and not your nationality. Let's say if you are an artist with a nationality that is not from any of the Creative Europe countries, for example, you might be a Japanese artist or have Japanese nationality, but live in Lithuania. You are based in, if you're legally based in Lithuania, this is important for Perform Europe and you are eligible. Then applications for Perform Europe have to be made by partnerships. And a partnership has to consist of a minimum of 3 partners from 3 different Creative Europe countries. And in their proposal, a partnership needs to be presenting a minimum of 1 performing arts work in at least 3 different Creative Europe countries. All the performing arts disciplines are eligible under the call, but it is important to note that this is excluding live music performances, which also means opera productions. They are also excluded because we work complementary to the Music Moves Europe initiative. And just to avoid confusion, music theater is considered an eligible performing arts discipline for Perform Europe. So all disciplines of the performing arts, excluding live music performances. Then we have just made a list of the Creative Europe countries that you can see here and a map on the side. It's 40 countries and in total, the 27 EU member states, but also 13 other countries. Unfortunately, this was the case under Perform Europe 1, but now not anymore. Professionals and organizations based in the UK are no longer eligible for Perform Europe. Then on funding, 2.1 million euro will be awarded to at least 35 partnerships, as I mentioned before. Why is it at least 35 partnerships? That is because the grants are divided into 3 categories. There's 12,000, 32,000 and 60,000 euro categories for small, medium and large scale projects. And 5% of the total budget will be dedicated towards projects that include Ukrainian partners or support the Ukrainian performing arts sector. Then in terms of costs, here's an overview of the costs that a grant can cover. The list is not exhaustive, that's why there's a category other at the end. So it can be staff costs for coordination of the project. It can be travel, accommodation and subsistence costs of everyone involved in the presentations. Same for artistic fees and salaries of everyone involved in the presentations. Source subtitling and translation fees, copyright fees, the rental of venues and equipment, the costs for transport of equipment, which also includes insurance and permits. Then costs for organizing any activity in connection with local communities like workshops, ateliers, masterclasses. And then in the budget, you will also see a specific line for specific accessibility costs. And these are costs to make the project more accessible for people with disabilities, whether they are artists, art workers, or audiences. And these expenses can, for example, cover services and accommodations such as sign language interpretation, captioning, accessible facilities, sensory-friendly presentations, assistive technology, and so on. Then there's also a line for specific greening costs, and those are expenses that are incurred for implementing environmentally sustainable practices. They can, for example, include energy-efficient processes, lower carbon travel options, materials made from sustainable sources, costs to improve carbon footprint, and so on. Then you can also include communication costs. And finally, there's the training costs. So each partnership is obliged to use at least 1.5% of their budget for training. So 1.5% of the grant of 12, 32, or 60,000 euros. And this training should revolve around the key priorities of the partnership. So you will choose for inclusion and diversity, or the fight against climate change, or both. And the idea is that this training revolves around these topics, or topics that are close to it. Perform Europe will be providing a list of potential partners with different expertise that you can choose from, but you're also absolutely free to propose someone yourself outside of this list. Then very important to note in terms of the budget is that a Perform Europe grant does not cover production costs for new creations. So proposals will need to include an already finished artistic work, a finished artistic production, or a concept that is ready to tour and to be presented across borders. Now, there's two different tools that have been uniquely developed for Perform Europe. First, there's a matchmaking tool. Second, there's the toolkit. And the matchmaking tool, you can find it on our website, where you as potential applicant can create a profile with all relevant information about yourself or about your organization. You can use tags and filters to look for other profiles that you find interesting, and you can send each other match requests. And when you have a successful match, your contact details will be unlocked. We hope that this will help partnerships in, of course, finding other partners and also creating collaborations beyond the usual suspects. This is an example of what a profile page looks like. There are already over, I think, 110 profiles created until today. And many more are really coming up each day, so don't hesitate to do the same. Use it to explore your options. Creating a profile does not mean that you have to hand in an application. So the only engagement is that you are visible to others who have created a profile. Then on the next slide, we will see what I would call the matchmaking dashboard, where you can see the other profile with this black bar. Maybe it's a bit small to see, but there you can use filters and send quick matches. You can see which profiles you have indicated as favorites. You can see which matches requests you have received, which matches that have been approved. All that is available there for you as soon as you create your own profile. Then the other tool is the toolkit, also uniquely created for Perform Europe by our partner IDEA Consult, and it helps you setting up meaningful partnerships and creating an impactful proposal. You can download it from our website. It's just a PDF that you can fill out. I would say go and discover it, and you will notice that by going through the different levels in the toolkit, that it sparks conversation with potential partners. It helps to identify common goals with your partners, but also the challenges that you might encounter. And finally, it will help you to craft a project proposal that is aligned with Perform Europe's vision. Now, if you're thinking of applying, this would be the steps to go through. Make sure to read in detail our open calling guidelines and all information available on the website. Register your account that is necessary to access the digital application form. Find partners via our matchmaking tool and maybe come together with partners using the toolkit. This is optional. Set up your partnership, of course, plan your proposal, and then finally fill in the digital application form and attach your budget before the 31st of March 2024. Finally, I'm just going to share the timeline with you here. 1st of December, the call has opened, and on the 31st of March, it will close. By the 3rd of June, we will be able to announce the selection. And then from the 1st of July 2024 until the 30th of November 2025, the partnerships have 17 months to implement their proposal. I will now pass the floor to my colleague Mariam, who is the communications manager of Perform Europe, and who will share with you the events that we have coming up, as well as a few tips and a few handy documents. Mariam.
Thank you, Karen, for a very insightful presentation. Maybe technically we can spotlight myself because I cannot see it in the pictures right now. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy that you joined us. Before we start our question and answer session, we want to share with you some information about the upcoming networking events. In the next 4 months, we will organize various informational and networking events in connection to the open call. We will have 2 specific Perform Europe online sessions open to entire sector. The first one will be this Friday, 15th of December, and second one will be 2nd of February. This Friday, we will have the so-called conversation starter session, where we will present the open call and matchmaking tool again. And this session will be focused on in-depth exploration of the Perform Europe toolkit in the speed date format. Participants will engage in small group discussions, create opportunities for networking, and so on. So the registration for this event is open. Our colleagues will link the registration, will send the registration link in the chat right now, and feel free to register. The networks also who are parts of Perform Europe, who are partners of Perform Europe, will be hosting over 20 targeted info sessions and networking events in the next months. Next of these network events, Creative Europe desks will be hosting information sessions, often in local languages. On that note, you should know that Creative Europe desks are in place in every participating country and are available for your questions, assistance related to Creative Europe program, and specifically in regards to Perform Europe call. So all those events are listed in events calendar on our website. Feel free to check it out in the activities page under events section, so to be updated about all upcoming events. On the activities page, you can also find section news, where we will share all important updates as we roll out the entire Perform Europe project. Another section is resources, where we collect research and documentation about all topics that are relevant to Perform Europe applications. For example, you can find there good practices for inclusion, handbook from greening practices, research results of the Perform Europe's pilot project, and etc. And also, to get inspired, you can check out our section stories, where we share the inspiring journeys of projects that were selected in the pilot edition. If you still have any questions about the open call after reading the open call and guidelines, you can consult the document containing frequently asked questions on our website. It's uploaded in the open call page. And we will host bi-weekly help desk sessions like today throughout the open call period, and you are welcome to join the upcoming sessions if new questions arise. So thank you, thank all of you for listening. And to conclude, you can subscribe our newsletter and social media to stay updated. You can check out our website where you will find full information about the open call and register and create profiles on our website. Thank you.